Hey guys, this is Tom Vox. Welcome to part 2 of the Ultimate Counter Guide. This is I guess the first time I split it apart because we went into so much detail this time. Again, here we are with Shunping Zhu, our Dragon Master. So this time we're going to try to break both parts down. I know the last video was a bit long and, well, we had to split it apart, guys. But this time we're going to go into board breaking and hopefully, if we're lucky enough, we'll be able to get into, I guess, board containing. Like containing your opponent, like controlling your opponent from them going off too far. So yeah, make sure you guys go check out Shu's YGO Lab. He's got a lot of in-depth insight, especially for you, those of you guys who are trying to go competitive. You guys should definitely check out his channel. This is the kind of stuff that people pay for. I mean, guys, come on. This is a pro giving you guys the info. So check out Shu's YGO Lab. So without further ado, why don't we actually continue our Ultimate Counter Guide for September 2020. So of course, across the top, we have the same matchups from the last video. We have Rox, Eldlich, Dogmatika, which includes Synchro, of course, and Invoke because they're just commonly played together. Infernobles is Dinosaurs because Sam made it a thing, and then there's also Dragoon, which is its own thing because every deck is kind of sampling it right now. And for our going second options, we have Dark Ruler No More. Of course, match with that would be Droplets because these are non-targeting negation-based cards. And then we also have Lightning Storm / Evenly Matched. These are our board wipes. We have Triple Tactic Talents, and we have Pankratops, and then we have Twin Twister Red Reboot, basically back row removal, and Kaiju Sphere Mode, anything that is tribute-based removal. That's going to be in our board breaker goes second. Then we have the going first afterwards. Now, key note here. Shu, you wanted to mention that not all these techs work for every single deck. What would you like to elaborate on there?
Yeah, so it's really like, for example, like Dark Ruler and Droplet, it really depends on like what's your ability to out the Buster Lock after your Dark Ruler. Because, for example, like I was playing Dragons. Dragons are actually very bad with Dark Ruler because in order for me to out the Buster Lock, which almost every ending board is doing, it required me to drop the Levineer. That's not easy to accomplish without really even touching my extra deck. However, for like Infernoble, because Gear Free is a card and out the Buster Lock by just attacking it. That's why Infernoble is much better with Dark Ruler against like other decks that has Buster Lock as an ending board.
So in other words, make sure that your decks actually have the proper text to out certain problem boards that you're using Dark Ruler or Droplets for, or else even if you have these cards, they might not work. All right, guys. So we're going to continue on with our lineup here. We have Rox versus Dark Ruler No More. I think this is a pretty obvious check.
Yes, this is a check.
Because we do not play with any... Like, if you're playing Rox, you don't play with very many back row. With the one exception, if they open with a pointer. If they sided in a pointer and they rip that out of your hand, that would be an exception.
Yeah, and the downside for Droplet, there's a decent amount of time you're going to see an Arclight, but there's also a decent amount of time you don't against Rox. It really depends on how they do the combos. It's a big topic right now. It's just Droplet maybe not as good as we think because Arclight existing and everything trying to make it. However, there are some other situations where you can pair Droplet with other board wipes. Like if you somehow end with having Droplet plus Evenly, that's a blowout for Rox.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So next, Lightning Storm and Evenly. I feel like this one is not that great. There's just too many negations to begin with, unless of course, like you said, you have to pair it with.
You have to
pair it with a negation.
Yeah.
So I'll give this one a bit of a dash. I don't think there's too much reason.
Light Storm's probably not even a dash.
No, Lightning Storm is pretty bad. Because
Rox end with Synchro Monster and they will pull all of them into defense. You're pretty much just only Lightning Storm for like an Appaloosa and maybe an IP.
You can't even turn off the Buster Lock because they'll just negate it.
Yeah. No, they will most likely put the Savaging Defense.
Yeah, and like not only that, like if you want to hit like spells and traps, they'll probably negate it if it's the Buster Lock.
I mean, at that point, you're using Lightning Storm like an MST just to hit the Buster Lock.
That's a very expensive MST. What about Triple T?
Triple T is me personally, as everyone who know me already, I'm not a fan of 3T in general. Yeah, I don't like this card, at least in the current format, especially against Rox, because that's just another card they are negating anyway. Actually, is especially bad against rock after I think about it. Because think about it, if they have a Buster Lock monster, even you take it, you're not outing it, you're still under the Buster Lock, and you cannot use your extra. You cannot link away. And for just say, if you need to pair with it, you kind of need to have something to trigger something to activate to make sure the 3T is alive. Then you have like another Dark Ruler to wipe everything. Then you make a 3T works. That's just so much already.
Yeah. Next we have Pancratops. Thoughts on this?
That's actually one of the best things, because if the opponent trying to play around Lightning Storm by putting the Savage in defense, you just summon Pancratops to end attack.
That's pretty good. Remember, the Rock end board does not exactly have anything that's reactive to regular summons and attacks, which is
the most they can have is an IP but then worst case you bait out another negate with Pank. Well, technically 2 negates, because it's IP plus something you're trying to pop, and they will negate it. Mm-hmm. And another good factor about Pank is that it's a special summon you can just straight do in your turn when you start, and it actually can be a cost for your drop, because now you have a monster on your field that you can send to negate, and your opponent can respond it with monster effects anymore.
That is true. That's actually a pretty good point there. Next, I know Pancratops is a one of, but I still think it's still one of the best side ins.
Yes.
And we'll talk more about it once we get to Dogmatika. But next we have Red Reboot. Okay, it's just bad. It's just bad. Kaiju's
at the very beginning, when everyone were still running Red Lotus, it's a pass. Now it's just not. You need to care more things than just the possible Red Lotus they join.
Yeah. Then there is a Kaiju or Tribute based removal. This one is like okay. It's not terrible because you get to trade 1 for 1, but it
depends on which one you run. Like if you run Spear, then it's very good because you take 3 away. Yes. But if you're only running Kaiju, then it's not, because 1 for 1 is just they have like more than 5 technically.
I'll still give it a check for the Sphere mode, because Sphere mode does turn off every negation.
Sphere mode does, yeah.
And every single disruption, every single major disruption anyway. That's probably why it's there. And even if you go into like a Dragoon with the board, it doesn't matter. Dragoon's dead.
It still get tributed.
Yeah, it's still gonna get tributed. Next we go into the Eldlich side. Eldlich Synchro. Dark Ruler no more. I feel like this one's not that great.
It's just an... Like, if you have it, you side it in because you have it for other decks. But normally, it's just like, because they have both front row and back row at the same time.
Yeah. You're only stopping halfway. That's the feeling I get.
But ultimately, you still do stop halfway. So it's like a pass, at least.
Yeah. You know, I'll give it a check just because it still stops the front, which is 2 negations at the very least. You're trading 1 for 2 negations, which means you can still break the board. The board does become a lot more predictable. And if you started Dark Ruler no more and you have some sort of back row move like a Twin Twister, then you're not really under any sort of big threats anymore.
Mm-hmm. The other fact about Dark Ruler and against the Eldlich Synchron is like because the existence of Droplet, almost the VFD version extinct already. There's no one trying to make just a single VFD and take the risk of being dropped. So that's why Dark Rulers start getting more effective now.
Lightning Storm and Evenly. I'll give this one a check because
that's like the best ones.
If you don't play Golden Land, or like you don't have Solemn in the back, you don't side in a Solemn Judgment, your back row is dead. You're basically only playing with half a deck. You're getting wiped. Triple T.
Very mediocre, to be honest.
I mean, if you bait out 1 negate, you can draw 2 cards. I'll put a bash. It's still usable. I won't say it's not usable, because it is usable. Like,
it's only usable. That's the issue of this card majority of the time.
Yeah, this one is only usable for this case. Pancratops. Actually, I do like Pancratops in this matchup.
Pank is pretty good. Pank, you can not only beat over the Arclight, bait out a Savage, you can even force... Like, you can even leave it as a check for whatever possible Golden Lore plays.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's really good. Red Reboot, I'm giving it a check because it just turns them off. You turn off...
Reboot, yeah. Remember, Eldlich Synchron ultimately is still just an Eldlich deck. They just do Synchron play turn 1. So whatever thing that works very well against the Eldlich part is still just going to be good.
Yes.
Just Lightning Storm and Evenly are even better because they cover both.
Yes. Kaiju wise, I think Kaiju's it's okay because the thing is it's okay, but I would not say that Sphere Mode wouldn't really work because they
overpower now.
They only end with
Sphere Mode. You can think about it in a very tricky way. Is you can just try to play into it without normal summon, and the second they try to summon their lord with their trap, you just tribute everything.
Yes, but that does require you to have like, a correct follow-up too.
Yeah,
or else it's just going to be like past turn. Well, the graveyard's going to go off now, and now you're basically playing Sky Striker, where they have the better turn. So this one, I'm just going to give it a bit of a dash. Next, we have Dogmatika Invoked. Or just Dogmatika. Droplets, I think it's... Again, they are another deck that has both front and back row. The front row would be
including hand traps as well, so technically 3 layers.
I feel like this one's kind of iffy. Iffy at best.
Art Cooler probably be like a no because it's you have to use it in your turn. It's good against Makaba, but it's only good against Makaba.
Yeah, that's the only there's better things to trade with it. I'd rather have an Imperm.
Droplet is slightly better because worst case it can use as an imperm where it can be an outgoing second. It can also be like an interruption where you just set it for the Alistair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely don't want to pay cost for my hand because that's costly, especially going second while they have so many negations. If they have Fleur de Lis, which is a hand-based negator, they have Makaba, which is a field-based negator, and then they have Punishment, which is like a double pop. It feels, most cases it's a double pop. It just feels like they have a bit of everything, and this one is it's like a 1-for-1, which isn't enough. Lightning Storm.
That's the good one. That's finally a very good one.
Is Lightning Storm the good one?
Yes. Both Lightning and Evenly are very good against like Dogmatika Invoke. Because first of all, one of the biggest threat is Punishment. It kind of lose to Lightning Storm hard. Mm-hmm. And worst case, those cards can be like a trade for Makaba. Mm-hmm. Like especially for the ones that has Maximus and Shadow package in the extra deck, Evenly is able to destroy it. Like their ending board is usually Makaba, possibly Winda plus Fleur de Lis Punishment. Mm-hmm. And Evenly can just minimize their interruption to only 1 left.
Okay, makes sense.
And because the Dogma Invoke version, like their how their engine functions, they don't naturally have a lot of traps. So therefore, the Makaba is not even able to negate a trap majority of the time. Mm-hmm. That's why Evenly just usually works.
That makes sense. Sometimes they do have they open double punishment. They will have it in that.
Yeah, but then they technically have 1 less card in hand if they just trying to hold it, right? And worst case, you just bait out the Makaba.
Yes. Well, yeah, if you can bait out the Makaba, you can definitely just get a full wipe, and that is painful. So Evenly, good choice. Check mark. Next, we have Triple Tactic Talents.
Finally, we have a good matchup when this card is godly.
Yes.
He is very good against Invoke Dogmatika deck.
The thing is, you activate anything. If they want to use Fleur de Lis, you can even bait the Fleur de Lis out. That's the best part.
As long as they want to touch you, they want to have any interruption, they're going to activate Monster Effect. Yeah. I think the only exception is the Schism into Winda, but that package is losing popularity quite a lot, to be honest.
I feel like, okay, the thing about the using Maximus, and I think this goes for anyone that's been kind of trying Maximus out. The problem is that if you use Maximus in a matchup where they also run Dogmatika, you will lose so much advantage. Because if they put their Titaniclad and they put their Entis into the graveyard, you feel so bad because now they got a free summon during the end phase.
Maximus, when you Maximus your opponent is not limited to send 1 each. They can send 2
Yeah, they can send double Entis and just break your board too.
Or you can trick think. Now you force them to trigger your 3T for it.
Yeah. That would be very interesting if that's how you're gonna be playing it out. But I'm saying it's just if you use Maximus in a mirror match, you likely won't win that situation. Like it's
It's too scary to just use it when you have absolutely no information what your opponent's playing.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. I mean, like, yeah, it's great when you use it. Like, even if we use it against rocks, it doesn't even feel that great because they're gonna put Earths in their grave, and then now you realize, hey, you just set up their Block Dragon. If they already have Block Dragon in their hand, you're not likely going to win now.
If you're able to set up window at that point, then it's still worth. But the thing is just, it's an endless loop where if everyone is playing Dogmatika, then Maxim is going to be bad. But if because of that, Dogmatika is losing popularity, then Maximus suddenly become the god card because you're not going to see mirror matches.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's like, just because so many people drop Maximus, now now if you activate, you most likely won't see the Nova Macabre combo.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time to play Maximus again, then we're just gonna fall into the loop again.
Yep. It's gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be one of those on and off things. Like, oh, it's great for a form because no one played it, and then like, oh, because no one's playing it, let's all play it again. Same idea. Next, we have Pancratops. Okay, now that we're here, Pancratops, it has, surprisingly, the stat line of Pancratops is an auto counter against punishment. That's the stupidest part because punishment, remember, it has to send a card that matches, or rather has equal to or higher attack than that monster. Pancratops is 26, which means they can't send Entis or Titaniclad. They have to send something like a Omega bigger.
Omega.
Likely Omega, because Omega's recyclable. That's the thing. And then you're just going to chain your Pancratops away so that they can't even send the Omega. In other words, they lock themselves out of their card so they don't have the extra deck access anymore. And you got to pop their card. It's completely free. You can go into battle phase. It just feels really awkward because you get a free bait. In other words, 90% of the time, they're not even going to activate the punishment because your Pancratops is the only monster. So you go into battle phase, you swing over the Ecclesia. There's not much more they can really do about that. It's a free monster.
Yeah, because Pank's a 26 attack, that's actually higher than Macabre and the third least original attack. And worst case, it's just an MST. That's why Pank is just still godly Pank.
And like, it's not like you're gonna swing into like the Alistair that's in hand. You're gonna swing into the Ecclesia, and since Pancratops is not an extra deck monster, Ecclesia will die. And in that case, they still have Pank on the field. You can't take him away. And all Pank's got to do is just activate. And like, if you have Schism or you have Punishment, you can't activate either one because Pank is just going to chain to it and just get rid of itself. Like, if it's going to be Punishment, or it's going to get rid of itself when it comes to like you using like Schism to prevent any more special summons going to Winda. It's just like, it's got most of the timing down for winning most of the interactions there.
Worst case, they force the Macabre.
Yes, worst case, you force Macabre, which is like, okay, well, still, the punishment is like not really that active anymore. Like, you know how to actually answer stuff, which gives Pancratops a lot of the best timings available. That's why you have a check on my book. Red Reboot, I'm gonna give that a check because Macabre can't negate that, and Punishment gets turned off. And then if you can break the board, everything else is kind of pointless at that point. You build your board.
Yeah, Twin Twisters is also good against Punishment.
Yes, because there's nothing you can really do about it. Although, would recommend to negate the Macabre first before you try that, because you could get into a pretty negative situation where you're losing 2 cards for nothing. Thanks. Kaiju's okay. 1 for 1 for
it's
the Macabre.
Surprisingly, it's a pass. Majority of time, I like when me personally playing against Dogma Invoke, I still think Punishment is usually the bigger threat.
Yes.
So Kaiju really doesn't do anything to Punishment. That's like another kind of downside for the card. It won't. It's a good choice if you already have it, just for like other decks like Dragoon in general. But so you put it in. But if I'm asked like what's like a good out to against the Dogmatika Invoke, Kaiju will not be like any of the prior choices.
Yeah, makes sense. Next, we have Infernobles. Dark Ruler no more. It's only if you can keep it in your hand.
You can think either way. You can think either way. Yeah, you can run just all of them, then you hope you draw multiple, with multiple combo starter, at that point, that doesn't matter what they ripped.
Yeah.
And I think Dark Cooler is slightly better than Droplet against Infernoble, because when they try to rip cards in your hand, you're already low on your hands, so you're probably not able to afford a cost for Droplet anymore.
Makes sense. But I'm only gonna put a dash because it's likely gonna get ripped out of your hand anyway.
But on the other hand, you think about it, you kind of forced to rip on this card. So whatever other combo pieces you have are still just there.
You're basically already in a simplified game state compared to them with a developed board. That's probably the scary part. Lightning Storm, I don't think is very good. Lightning Storm, I feel is actually kind of bad. They just have so much protection. Like, they can leave most of their stuff in attack position and still not suffer Lightning Storm because most of their stuff can't be destroyed by card effects.
It's like one of them can negate it, one of them just can't even be destroyed, and worst case, it can rip it.
Yeah, it just feels kind of bad. Evenly, on the other hand, doesn't seem that bad.
At that point, it's just another Dark Cooler or Droplet, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to, like, if the moment they see your hand with Smoke Grenade, I feel like Smoke Grenade honestly should get banned because it's right now.
Eventually.
Yeah, it's like it's being played in a way that it's literally just confiscation.
Yeah, like during the last banless season during OCG, I think it was like July time. If Core Team never happened, I think along with Link Cross, OCG will probably ban Smoke Grenade as well. Just because there was not many tournaments, they decided to go light on the ban list and only at the Link Cross. That's why Smoke Grenade is still around in OCG, which then like about 2 weeks, we're going to see the new OCG ban list, and that might just include Smoke Grenade as the ban section.
Next we have Triple Tactics Talent. This card is actually pretty good. If they put Gear Freed up, the Gear Freed becomes the most punishing card that they left on the field. Because Triple Tactics Talent does not target. If you force them to actually negate something or pop something, you use Triple Tactics Talent, take the Gear Free takes the swing, breaks the board.
The fact is, they see your hand already when you have the 3T. If they decide to leave it, they definitely gonna think about how to play around it, right?
It's true. But like, it is also like one of those cards that if you can keep it, if they didn't rip it, then they're screwed because it's really hard to kind of predict it.
Honestly, I don't really like 3T against Nobles because, like, think about it. Not only they see your hand, they can also, for example, put you in a situation where you don't even have anything to trigger the 3T that forced the negate. Yeah,
I feel like hand traps is probably the better way to play against Infernobles.
Like 3T in general, it's good for a resource matchup. That's why it's like decent against like Dogmatika and Invoke, or even like Eldlich Synchron. But in like auto-win combo decks, it just absolutely not going to do anything because it's so slow, to be honest. It's so unreliable as well.
Okay, no, that's a fair point. Next we have Pancratops versus Infernoble. I don't know about this one. It feels like Pancratops' stats is just too low.
I mean, Pancratops, it's usually just there because it's so good against everything in general. So you're going to put it in anyway. And also because it's a one-off, it really doesn't even matter that much.
Would you actually use it against Infernoble?
I mean, I will side it in, but I will not rely on it.
Yeah, it's like it's a better card than one of your dead cards.
It's like an average, at least.
Red Reboot, let's put an X on that. There's no traps. And
no trap.
Kaiju. Thing is, like, the Infernobles usually only has one negate. Sometimes they put up the Herald as well. But
it depends, because depends on their combo. It can end with different ways. Usually at least Savage Charles or Arclight Charles. In some extreme case, it could even be Savage, Arclight Charles, and Gear Free. So,
I think it's actually not that bad. You can I think it's possible to even like sphere mode them.
Sphere mode, it depends.
I think it's quite possible. I think it's actually quite possible to sphere mode them, or even a single Kaiju could perhaps. You can trade
single Kaiju. Single Kaiju probably.
Trade. It's the equivalent of using a Imperm against them.
Well, the thing is, if they see a Kaiju, they're probably gonna.
Well, they're gonna rip it. They're gonna rip it for sure. But
if they or they just leave you as only Kaiju and other sidecars, so you can't really do anything, even you out the board.
No, well, if you top deck Like sometimes they just top deck the right card, which is it's part of Yu-Gi-Oh. It's happened before. It happened to me actually today. I was playing. I built my board. I ripped his hand. I'm like, great. I see in his hand. I've done everything I should. He top decks the sphere mode. My board gets broken, and I still die. It happens in Yu-Gi-Oh. We just have to kind of accept it.
Kaiju in general, just like cards, if you have it, you put it in, but you will not build it and put Kaiju in thinking that's gonna be super effective against it.
Yeah, that's for your hand traps. That's for your token collector.
Yeah.
Okay, next, Dinosaurs. Dark Ruler no more.
Dark Cooler maybe not, because I think the modern, like at least the one I saw recently, or all end with VFD. They're doing dinosaur combos with Fiber, Aurora, and end with VFD.
Ugh. I hate that. VFD needs to get banned. Okay, well that doesn't. Well, if they go into VFD, Dark Ruler just doesn't matter.
Yeah, Dark Ruler just doesn't do anything to VFD. Drop on their hand is pretty good. Not only it doesn't target, so it bypass Lost World. Also, it's a quick play, and you can chain to it, and you can just use it in standby phase and just bypass miscellaneous as well.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good, especially when you can turn off the UCT, because UCT's Book of Eclipse effect is a turn ender, yeah, especially when you're trying to combo.
Also for drop, if like think about it, if your opponent activate a miss, you can chain your drop to it, so everything gonna be negated still. If you activate drop first and you cost a monster, they can't even chain the miss.
Very good. Lightning Storm, not going to be effective. It's
have fun with your last world token there.
Yeah, it's just not good. It's not going to work. But also not going to work.
Same thing with Lightning Storm. You can't even crush the token because last world.
Yeah, that is a bit of an issue. Or if you're playing Invoke Dogmatika, then you'll have the Link Repo anyway. Then you can.
If you get VFD, your Link Repo can't even attack.
Yeah, that's also a problem too. You know, it seems iffy. Then we have Triple T.
What's Triple T do after VFD being resolved?
Yeah, it's probably not going to do anything. Next we have Pank. Pank's not bad.
Pank is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pank is always Pank. Pank is the golly Pank.
That's why he's at 1. Red Reboot is an X, because they don't play traps most of the time. Kaiju. This one.
Kaiju probably, but Sphere sounds like a yes.
Sphere is a yes. I think Kaiju, I'll give it a yes too, because it will give you a chance to play.
Depends, because think about it. If you Kaiju, then you are still in a situation where you control the Lost World token when they have Lost World. Next turn, they can just attack and start their second turn plays. But if you Sphere mode, you can maybe just tribute everything. So Kaiju probably is not even good, but Sphere can have a pass.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we're down to the last column here. Dragoons, Dark Ruler no more, and the other one I'll give it a check because I actually can turn it off because you can turn it off. Lightning Storm doesn't do anything against it. Evenly matched. They're gonna keep it on the field.
Keep it.
This is bad. Triple T. Okay, this is the one where you and I have a bit of a disagreement here. I think Triple T is actually pretty good against Dragoon.
I think it still depends on what version of Dragoon they're playing. Like if they're going with just combo with all the negates with Dragoon, then it's kind of weak because it's just another thing you're trying to negate.
The thing is, for me, my experience with Triple T versus Dragoon is that you can use as much as everything that you want as long as you're holding a Triple T for that Dragoon at the end. Remember, if they combo into it, they've burned 2,000 life with the Predaplant. All you gotta do is take control of the Dragoon, use Dragoon's effect because they probably play both Dark Magician and the Red-Eyes Black Dragon. That means you get a double pop. So the pop will burn. All you need to do is push for 2,000 damage of burn, and they can swing for game. That is where Dragoon is scary, because that's where the counterplay can come in. And if you play a deck that only relies on a one-card engine, or you have a lot of free bodies that can help you extend, you can get rid of the Dragoon afterwards, which is where my triple tactics talent come in, because the thing is, the take control effect isn't Change of Heart. It's actually better than Change of Heart because it does not target the card that you take. that's the big point here that I kind of want to make about Triple T versus Dragoon.
It's definitely possible. Like you definitely have a good point. The only thing I want to say is, since we never have any tournaments since Dragoon is released, we don't even know what kind of deck, what kind of combo deck gonna combo into a board with Dragoon yet. It's like
true. A lot of
it's
people,
like for example, it could be a dragon, could be like a dragon link into his Dragoon with other thing like Buster Lock, Savage, Sphere. Then they can just leave a Sphere and use Sphere as the last one. So whatever you want to take, they just bounce the Dragoon. So now you can take a Savage with Buster Lock and have fun with it. That doesn't really accomplish anything.
Wait, does Sphere target?
No, it doesn't.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah, it's possible. Like, that's why it's kind of it seems a little bit iffy. But like, if a player gets hand trapped at the right point, people usually turn to the Predator plan because they burn the hand trap. Dragoons is a safe bet. So in other words, they'll have the one negation with the Dragoon. By using the Dragoon negation, it boosts up to 4k, making the damage reach all that much easier at the moment you take it over and you can just swing for game. It's actually occurred multiple times already. Just testing online, but because people are just making Dragoons because they're just a little bit trigger happy with it. It's just be careful when like someone's actually baiting out your monster effects only for them to take it, and if you're leaving monsters like IP Masquerena on the field, well, you better link away your Dragoon, or because
I feel at that point we still have to wait for the format to settle a little bit, because it's not guaranteed. Like, if you are holding a 3T expecting your opponent going to a Dragoon, then at the end they're not playing Dragoon, then your 3T is probably just very mediocre against their board.
Okay, that's fair, but like, I think to me it's still worth a check because Dragoon.
It's probably a check, but I will prefer to just have hand traps instead of that 3T spots.
That's true.
But on the other hand, there's another version of Dragoon decks where they turbo all Red-Eye Insight with Red-Eyes Fusion, so they don't have like that many negates. It's usually like Dragoon with back row. Those situations, 3T will be very good.
Yeah.
Because all you need is just bait out a Dragoon, then you take the Dragoon to do whatever.
Yeah, now you have a 4K beat stick that can, well, can't be targeted and cannot be destroyed by card effects. It's a pretty effective way. Pankratops versus Dragoon.
Nope.
No, it's pretty good.
Unfortunately.
Red Dragoon Dragoon is an X, and the Kaiju, I'll give it a check because you trade one for one for
Kaiju.
Even a Kaiju is pretty good. All right. So,
remember how we out Masterpiece before?
Yeah, Kaiju it. Easy. All right, let's move on to the next list, which is actually, I think, a little bit more simple, which is the go first stuff to maintain control. Okay, so now we're on to the going first stuff. I know we went pretty long with the other one, but we went quite in depth again. I guess this is going to be a pattern whenever we get Shunping's Jew here.
My video is always long.
It's just how it is, but think about it this way. You guys are getting extra value from this, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding notification bell, and let's go into this. You know what, the first card here, we have Ice Dragon's Prison, we have Artifact Scythe / Sanctum, Solemn Cards, we have Mystic Mind, which technically could have been a go second thing as well, Abyss Dweller, and a Pointer, because that's just a commonly side thing. I think there's not really too much to talk about for a Pointer, because it's just there for combo decks if they can maintain a hand and just to rip out cards. It basically functions the same way as like a smoke grenade to most cases.
It still varies. Depends on some specific decks, but in general, it's pretty much very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. So okay, Ice Dragon's Prison versus Rocks. I'm giving that a check because it's
good.
So good. Okay, any deck that is mono-type, it will wreck them so bad. Across the board, Ice Dragon's Prison, it will get a check from me on all fronts.
There's only one downside that can happen, is your opponent be super cautious, banish every single rock monster to summon their Block Dragon. Or they leave only more Block Dragon in the graveyard to summon another Block Dragon. Because your Ice Dragon Prison has to summon your opponent's monster first. He cannot target anything that cannot be special summoned.
That is true. Block Dragon is not one of those monsters that can be summoned up by the Ice Dragon's Prison.
And you especially want to banish the Block Dragon with Prison, right?
So you have to make sure that the Block Dragon's already on the field and they need a rock in the grave.
That's the only case of the card being bad, but other than that,
luckily, it works across the board most of the time. Like, think about it this way. Rocks, you need to link into anything. You have a rock that you're just putting into the graveyard. They have to link away the block dragon every time for them to, like, keep it empty. Sometimes they just put in one too many rock, and that's enough to kill the block dragon.
Yeah. The only scary part is when they just start a game, they have just enough the number to summon block dragon, and they banish every single piece of them. So you don't have a target for your Ice Dragon Prison to summon. Therefore, you just have to leave the block dragon and let him trigger it.
Yep. Otherwise, it's still very good card. Very good disruptor.
It's one of the very underrated card in Rise. And I even think it's like as good as 3T and Drop, to be honest.
I think I talked about it during the set review. It is like one of the best cards in the entire set. In fact, right now, it's actually kind of pricey as an ultra rare. $10 right now.
It went up to 10 because on release it was like 5.
Yeah, it was so cheap. I should have picked up the entire set, to be honest. Okay, I'm actually for Ice Dragon Present, I'm gonna go across the board. Against Synchro Eldlich, it's actually pretty good. If they put an Ash in the graveyard, they banish the Eldlich. Which is
you have a lord. You have 2 lords in the graveyard and try to summon one of them.
You lose both. It's over. You lose both. The game is over. Against Dogmatika, because you're spellcaster based, you can get all your spellcasters ripped apart. It's also Ice Dragon Prison is also a very good answer to Invocation because you just summon their Alistair, and now they don't have another Alistair to Invocation, and you don't have to banish.
Yeah, you don't have to banish, and now once the Alistair dies, and both Alistair and Invocation will stay in the graveyard, so you kind of cut their loop.
Exactly. That's why it's also really good, and like even if it's Dogmatika stuff, they're all spellcasters too. You can take them. It's like free summons for you. Infernobles, they're all warriors. You have a chance to actually rip them out, which is also pretty nice. Especially when they're trying to use Renault's effect to retrieve, say, Gearfried. I believe Gearfried you can normal summon. So you can just take the Gearfried and just banish them both. They just lose everything. Like, this card is a really solid disruption.
Yes. The only downside is still just a trap. But other than that, this card like works against almost everything in the game at this point.
Even Dragoon.
Fun fact, remember to summon the right monster against a Dragoon.
Yeah. So the banishing effect does not target. Like Dinosaurs, okay, you can take the miscellaneous and actually just get rid of it too, which is hilarious. One of my more recent matchups, I guess, for Dinosaurs, my opponent summoned out a UCT properly. So he banished 2 to get it out. So then, and then he actually got rid of it by destroying it to book my entire board. And then I revived his dinosaur because he was also playing Lost World. He gave me a token. So I revived his UCT, and then I banished the token and his other UCT that he summoned out. And I was like, wow, a 3,500 beat stick. Remember, you don't have to banish the thing that you summoned. The thing is, Ice Dragon's Prison is super flexible. I think that's like a lot of what people don't see is how flexible the card is. First of all, you don't have to banish. Second of all, the banishing is non-targeting. Third of all, the banishing doesn't have to banish the thing that you summon. It can be anything on the field as long as you have a matching type against your opponent. And for Dragoon, if they're gonna use the Predaplat to summon it out, okay, you just have to bait the Dragoon and then you get Ice Dragon Prison, summon Dark Magician, banish both of them.
Remember, even if Dragoon, it's spellcaster still, so you still have to summon a Dark Magician. If you summon Red-Eyes, then good luck.
Then yeah, you've done goof pretty bad. But yeah, you just take the spellcaster, and now you can get rid of Dragoon too. Which is why across the board, I'm giving this one a check all the way across because it's really like one of the most flexible things. Even if you open with 3 copies of this, your opponent cannot combo. At all.
Well, it doesn't. Unless you somehow face a striker, then the card is absolutely not doing anything.
Then yeah, that's a different story. Artifact Scythe, it's checks except for the control matchups.
Yes, it's a check for all the combos.
Yeah, it's check against all the combo, but Eldlich gets an X. Dogmatika, I'll put in. Dogmatika is a little bit iffy because if you open with just Dogmatika, then you can play. But if you're starting with the Invoke stuff, then you cut off the Dogmatika. So I'll put the dash on that one. Infernoble is a full cutout. It's a blowout. Dinosaurs, they don't need to go into the extra deck. I'll give it a dash. it does kind of cut them off a little. Dragoon, of course, you just cut off Dragoon. You can't summon Dragoon. Solemn.
Dragoon, there's only one downside for Scythe against Dragoon is if their first play of the turn, if you decide to hold a Sanctum, and their first play of the turn is activate Red-Eyes Fusion, then it doesn't do anything.
Yes, but like that's a very specific case. Half the time, the thing is, half the time people don't want to use the Red-Eyes Fusion because it just locks them out. If you get Ash, you can't even summon anything for the rest of the turn.
Well, think about it. It's like if you start with straight Sanctum into a Scythe, you're in the range of possibly being like, you're in the range of possibly being Impermanent or Gamut. But if you waited and they somehow just drew their Red-Eyes Fusion thinking, not really gonna do anything anyway because my hand's trash with the Garden and Red-Eyes Fusion, might as well just straight activate it. Then you kind of played yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself. Okay,
yeah.
So
you didn't do the wrong play, just somehow opponent's hands was just the counter play for you.
Yeah, well, sometimes it happens. Sometimes people just get lucky like that. Solemn Brigade, what would you say against rocks?
Against bad. Rocks is definitely a good because
is it good? I thought it's kind of bad.
I will give a check because the fact nothing they have can stop your Solemn.
Sure.
So it did happen to me where I was playing a fun deck and I had Judgment. So I just held it until he passed Fiber. He even have an Arclight with Guardian. Then when they summoned their Reptile, I Solemn that and cut his turn off.
I see. Okay, that's fair. Solemn versus Eldlich.
Probably not.
I feel like you'll stop half of it and the other half will kill you.
I mean, it really doesn't even do anything against the lore part at all.
Yeah.
Like, Judgment just really doesn't do anything to it.
unless you're playing Strike. But then Strike doesn't stop the guys from coming out and popping your cards.
Warning is the best I get at that point, but...
Dogmatika. If they start with Dogmatika, I would negate it.
Well, it also depends on which Solomon you have, right? Because if they Nadir, then only Judgment works. And are you going to Judgment it?
No.
Nadir says once per turn per activate.
Yeah.
So if you don't Judgment, it's a possibility. They just send Enters to pop your back row.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? Let's put an X on that one. Infernoble. I would give it a check.
It will be. Completely stopping their Link monster is very good. Even because the fact you are able to hold your counter trap to even Fiber. And that's gonna significantly disrupt their turns. So now their protection gonna work on a Solemn.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Dinosaurs. You can stop their summon, which is
I guess so.
Pretty good. I think it's actually pretty good if you stop the summon, especially like Oviraptor, not getting their effect, getting rid of the body. There's not
pretty much the going in first cards. It will be most likely the same for Rocks, Nobles, and Dinosaurs. Those combo decks.
For Dragoons, you can stop the Predator Plant, or you can even stop the Red-Eyes Fusion.
Unless they play multiple copies, which some of them they do.
Oh god! Let's not get into those guys. Okay, let's go to the Mystic Mine. Everyone's favorite Floodgate. That's a check. It kills rocks.
It kills rocks. They don't
run Gate Blocker anymore. It's bad against Eldlich Synchro. They'll just Conquistador and pop it. A Dogmatika Invoked is actually pretty good.
That's actually very surprisingly good because how the deck functions, their core engine have no outs to mine.
Yes.
And whatever they're running is usually like hand traps and cards against combos and just expose the weakness against mine even more.
It's funny because they're like, oh, I'll just use my effect of punishment to send the Entis. I'm like, great, your Entis is not going to activate anymore anyway. You just killed my monster.
I mean, it's even when you have a monster for them to kill, right? There's only one way they can clear their own board is if they somehow play like a spellbook package where they can just link everything into one spellcaster knowledge and wait it out the mind.
Yeah, good luck with that. That's not happening.
They can link everything into... Yeah, they can. They can mix a link.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can do that. It's gonna take a couple turns though. Infernoble, they're pretty boned. Charles's timing does not work. Dinosaurs, but Lost World cancels it.
Yeah, Lost World cancels it, but still kind of force them
down. They have to link away their whole board to do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the good side is like they cannot really do anything to the token anymore because even they protect it, it really doesn't benefit them or anything. So they kind of still have to pass through the turn. And by the turn your mind's gone, maybe you can just try to do something because your board is going to be only one monster.
It's actually not bad. Dragoon. If you bait them out and they leave a Dragoon on the field, they can't get rid of Dragoon. But that really depends on the deck.
Yeah, but also there's downside where Dragoon decks usually, well, there's also two versions. If it's a super heavy combo version, yes, it's a good because they have so many monsters. If it's the other version, it's usually kind of a control deck where they usually don't naturally leave a lot of monsters on the board. It's even possible they just only have like Dragoon and Anaconda. Or maybe not even Anaconda if they start with straight Red-Eyes Fusion.
But at that point, like... That's fine, because they can't get rid of the Dragoon anymore.
Oh yeah, but at that point, you're just really waiting, and you just have to know what you're waiting for.
Or you can, yeah, you can do that. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Dweller versus Rocks. It's okay because you can turn off block and you can turn off Revival Golem. A lot of the and you turn off. Okay. It's actually pretty. It's decent if you Dweller them on the first move because they can't use tackle, they can't use revival, and they can't use block, which is a lot of the extenders that they try to push out. If they can't turn off your cards because you Dwellered them, they kind of die.
You just have to be very careful because the fiber routes is still kind of completely open against the water.
But like still, like it's still pretty big when you turn off block.
Yeah, you do shut down a decent amount of them, just not all of them.
Yeah. Eldlich Synchro. It's actually it's pretty good.
Yes. You stop more than just enough.
Surprisingly, against Dogmatika, it's actually not that bad because Nadir does not get anything. Like,
yeah,
they actually lose out on a couple of things. And Dweller also stops Entis, which is why Dweller is here. Infernoble, you turn off the guys from activating in the graveyard, which includes Olion, which includes Jet Synchron. It includes all the warriors that are set there to re-equip themselves. It's a decent... It's not everything, because a lot of the stuff that's in hand still goes off.
Yeah, it's like it's obviously good if they can use their graveyard, but they don't rely on the graveyard. Yeah. So it's like for stopping, to be honest, not as much worth the rank 4. Like if you are able to make a rank 4 instead of Dweller, make up a Gooska is probably better against Inferno.
Makes sense. Against Dinosaurs, it's a straight yes for me.
Oh yeah,
because you turn off the babies and you turn off miscellaneous, and that's just turns off free Dinosaurs. And Dragoons gets an X because that does nothing to Dragoons. And finally, we're down to our last row here, a Pointer. A Pointer of the Red Lotus. Here's what I think. A Pointer is not for their main deck. A Pointer is there to pick apart other people's side decks. Thoughts on that?
To be honest, a Pointer, it's like, it's weird.
I would say it's only there to pick apart people's side decks. It's a counter side. It's a counter side card. That's what it's
pretty much your non-archetype smoke grenade.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what it is. Although it does cost you. Remember, guys, it does cost you, I believe it costs you life, and it also costs you to reveal your hand. And, so you make sure you have a hand to reveal. If you're a deck that you play handless by the end of your turn, this is not a card for you to play, because you'll realize you can't even use it at all. Nope. I guess we kind of got to the end of this one. Thank you, Shu, for joining me on this long video. It's been a while since I've done something like this. Of course, to those of you guys, of course, that has been following me, yes, I did recently get married, of course, and this is my second video back. And of course, guys, check out the description. Shu's channel is down there. Shu's YGO Lab. If you guys want more details. Anything else you want to add, Shu?
that's it. Just go check my channel, go check Tom's channel, and yeah, that's it.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed, you guys learned something about these cards. I know, like, potentially by the time we release this video, banlist may have already come out. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, ding notification bell, check out Shu's channel, do that same thing over there, and I will see you guys in the next one.
See ya. I'll see you in the lab instead.